Good afternoon, everyone. Very delightful afternoon out here. Very nice and warm. Joe Davis dialed up the weather. So thank you very much to Joe Davis and the African American Lodge for having this tea this afternoon. And thank you for stepping out. I'm Jose Candelario. I am the host of the Electric Drum on 94.3 WYBC, the rhythm of the city. Okay, all right, okay, we passed the test. Everyone's here, present. I also host the evening jam and late night rhythms during the week, Monday through Thursday. So that's the voice that you hear at night when I slow it down around 10 o'clock. Very smooth. Thank you very much. All right, I got a fan over here, Miss Carol. Good. Hey now. Thank you, thank you. But good, it is truly an honor to welcome you here today for this special gathering. Tea has always been about more than just what's in the cup. It's about conversations that have been happening around these tables. It's about reflection, it's about community, and today we gather in that spirit to celebrate leadership, legacy, and the power of public service. It is my privilege to introduce someone who has shaped the modern story of New Haven in profound and lasting ways. Today we are joined by a woman who made history, then got to work immediately. The 50th mayor of the city of New Haven, state senator, the first woman ever elected to lead our Elm City, Mayor Toni Harp. When we talk about breaking barriers, it's easy to focus on the headline, First Woman Mayor. But what makes Mayor Harp's legacy extraordinary is not simply that she was the first, it's what she did with that opportunity. Before she ever stepped into the mayor's office, Toni Harp already dedicated decades of her life to public service. She served in the Connecticut State Senate for nearly 20 years. Representing New Haven with distinction, advocating for working families, education, public health, and economic development. Did I get it all? Okay. And the youth, okay, all right, there you go, and the youth. She chaired the powerful Appropriations Committee, and she fought to ensure cities like ours had the resources that they need to thrive. And when she became mayor in 2014, she brought that same steady, thoughtful leadership to City Hall. She led during times of challenge and change. She worked to stabilize city finances. She focused on public safety and community policing. She invested in neighborhood development and expanded conversations around equity and opportunity. Under her leadership, New Haven continued to evolve as a city of culture, resilience, and possibilities. But beyond the titles, policies, what stands out about Mayor Harp is her presence, her calm strength, her listening ear, her deep roots in this community. Being that she's a transplant didn't matter. She came from Utah, right? If I say it correctly, Utah? Came to Utah, came to New Haven, but instantly connected with our community and decided to, you know what? I guess they pushed her to lead, because I don't think she decided to, they pushed her to lead. And she did that. She's just not a leader who governed New Haven. She is someone who understands it. She knows the rhythm of the city. She knows its history. And she believes in its future. For young women watching, she represented possibility. For long-time residents, she represented continuity. For many in this room, she represents both. In a political climate that we can often feel loud and divided, Toni Harp has always led with dignity, with composure, with purpose. She reminds us all that leadership does not always, always have to shout to be powerful. And today we gather over tea in a setting that invites thoughtful dialogue. It feels especially fitting to welcome a leader who has always valued conversation over confrontation and service over spectacle. Never known Ms. Harp to put on a show, but always deliver. Mayor Harp's legacy is woven in the fabric of New Haven, from neighborhoods to City Hall, from the state capitol to community centers across this city here in Hamden. Her fingerprints are literally everywhere. And policies passed and opportunities created and doors opened for the next generation. So today, we honor not just a former mayor, we honor a trailblazer, a public servant, a history maker, a proud daughter of New Haven. Please join us in warmly welcoming the 50th mayor of the city of New Haven, Mayor Toni Harp.
very much. That was really lovely, probably the best I've ever heard. So thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. I want to thank the distinguished Captain Joe J. Davis for inviting me to speak today. He has accomplished so much in law enforcement during his lifetime. He is the founder and owner of this place, the African American Lodge 24, which is how his long and extensive community service has most recently found expression. I also want to thank Byron Breland for reaching out to me. Let's give him a round of applause. I should call him my wingman because for every election that I was in, he would drive me around and listen to. Yeah, when he did, I won. But he has been a community activist for years and someone who I have always called upon for support. So I want to thank you, Byron. And I want to thank all of you. I know so many of you. I could name you one by one, but all of you, I've seen you in the way you embrace your communities and provide the service and lift people up. So thank you for doing that. Today I have 3 points that I want to make, and I hope you won't mind. But I've taken liberties to share what I really think and what I believe is important to hear. And it's something that just occurred to me and troubled me as I thought about it. So I'm going to make 3 points. The first one is conquerors nearly always diminish and therefore change the history of the conquered. The second one is the Sankofa symbol asks us to reclaim the lost, forgotten, or valuable aspects of culture, history, and knowledge, because the past is important to understand where we have come from, where we are headed, and where we are on our journey. Black history is important to fight for because we will never be totally free in this country if our history is manipulated and changed by powerful forces that seek to undermine our progress. For years, conquerors have stolen history. Why have they done this for thousands of years? They have done it to control the narrative that undermines what we think about ourselves. And it enhances the power of those who have conquered. Think about Western European conquerors who've gone about the world taking over continents and changing history. We often don't consciously process that change because if we thought about it for 2 seconds, we would know there's some things that we believe to be true that couldn't possibly be true. Think about Jesus, for example. He couldn't have had white skin, long, straight, light-colored hair, or blue eyes. And yet, there in the stained glass window depicting him in my Calvary Baptist Church in Salt Lake City, Utah, was a blonde and blue-eyed Jesus. Some conquerors stole our history and let it run in the background of our minds for centuries so that we believed it too. We accepted it not knowing how empowered we would be if Jesus just looked a little bit more like us than he did in our stained glass windows. Most characters in the Bible actually looked more like us than the images that we see in our walls and in our minds. Why did the conquerors do this? We know why. It solidified their power. We would always see them as the true rulers above us and those that look like them above us as well. Like Alice Walker writes, the most common way for people to give up power is by thinking they don't have any. They have always tried to make us look small, even take away our humanity. Picture our Black leaders looking like monkeys. Thankfully, that is not running in the background of our minds now, but it is running in the background of majority population in this country. And if you belong to the MAGA working poor, it lifts you above our country's strongest Black leader. And we are disempowered. My second point is that if we are to be empowered, history is important for us to understand from where we come, where we are headed, and where we are on our journey. We have come from a mighty long way. From Africa, where we were free, though pursued, captured and bound, and transported across what I believe would be the cold Atlantic Ocean, and enslaved and dehumanized. Through our free labor, we built the foundation of the greatest nation on earth. And we did it through the rule of law, often taking others with us along the road to freedom. Technically, Black men could vote, if they were allowed to vote, prior to white women. I'm sure they would not agree, but they attached their increased freedom to our movement for freedom. As we moved into the civil rights era, they hitched their wagon to our movement. And we didn't mind because we have always been Universalists. And we didn't mind, and we looked at the world like the Reverend Jesse Jackson did. We have always been a rainbow coalition. All minorities in this country, many of them are cousins from the Caribbean, South and Central America, our homeland Africa, Asia, the Middle East, and women benefited from our struggle to become free. Where are we today? We had diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI as it's now called, and we had Black history for 100 years. The Black History Celebration began through the work of Carter B. Woodson in 1926. The National Museum of African American History and Culture was built between 2012 and 2016 when it opened. Its mission is to share the unvarnished truth of African American history and culture. Where are we today? DEI has been eliminated at the federal level. Universities and colleges that have these programs either eliminated them or lost federal funding. Companies throughout the nation have eliminated non-governmental DEI programs. And the National Museum of African American History and Culture has been influenced to whitewash our history and struggle. The Reverend Amos C. Brown, a prominent pastor and civil rights leader, led historical books to the museum because he felt that America will see me, he thought, will see Black people. Reverend Brown said, "We have been and are architects, designers of great things. We took a negative and turned it into a positive. And telling the story of how people achieve great things in spite of oppression, in spite of those evil things that were done to us, that's what the museum represents." Spurt. Last year, the Smithsonian sent him an email saying it would return his books. This issue is very concerning. The Congressional Black Caucus sent a letter to Vice President J.D. Vance indicating this is a flagrant attempt to erase Black history. It is unacceptable and must be stopped. Representative Terry Lowell said to tell the truth means to share the good and the bad. And if we don't tell our stories, who will tell our stories? Her statement reminds us of point 3 today. Black history is important to fight for. We will never be totally free if our story, our history, is manipulated and erased by the powerful forces in our country that seek to undermine our progress. So we are under attack. Our minds are under attack. The minds of America, frankly, are under attack. When I was a child in elementary school, this country didn't deny slavery. Today, our leaders are urging the country to deny it because the knowledge of slavery and its inhumanity to the enslaved may hurt white children's feelings and their belief about who they are as a majority population. In a land of the free and the home of the brave, we have to worry that this thinking may seep into the consciousness over years unless we act to stop it. Reverend Robert Turner of the Empowerment Temple AME Church walks once a month from Baltimore to Washington, D.C., to the African American Historical and Cultural Museum. And he says this: we have to now say enough is enough, and America is better than this. It is black and white. We are stronger than this. If our children can endure being lynched, then white children can endure a classroom that teaches that America used to lynch kids. That's what he said. So we're at a point in time where we must fight for our history. It is a great story about the struggle from freedom, from slavery to freedom. If we pay attention and really think hard about our history, it is a human story that whispers in the heart of all who will hear. What Connecticut heard during the Amistad event. They will hear what we all hear if we just stop and listen. And it's 3 words: we want free. Our history lifts the human spirit and provides opportunity for all. It is a history worth fighting for because it imbues life and meaning into the words, one nation under God with liberty and justice for all. I hope you will find a way to support our African American history. It is indeed a history worth fighting for.
And that concludes this portion of our festivities. We encourage everyone to stick around, enjoy the delectable treats that were provided by the African American Lodge this afternoon. Again, thank you so much, Mr. Joe Davis, for putting this together, and your crew. Very nice, very nice. People are having a good time. Look at that. And who says we can't get together in a calm fashion and have a good time, right? With that said, again, I'm Jose Candelario from WYBC, the Rhythm of the City, 94.3. And I encourage you to listen to the electric drum on Sundays at 6. If you have ever heard that program, I know it's been around a couple of years. It's like 60 years in the making. It's been there since the Bobby Seale trials. That's where the electric drum first started, to inform the community of what's going on, and so we're very proud of that. And again, thank you, Ms. Toni Harp, for coming out. Yes, because now we don't see her anymore, so give her that good applause. Thank you so much for taking the time, and thank you so much for coming out. Again, please stick around and enjoy yourself, and give Mr. Joe Davis a hug on the way out.
You know, I think that we have got to find ways to speak about it, to write editorials, to speak on the various Facebooks and all of the others. It's a real serious issue. You know, one of the things that the American Indians had this thing called skunk medicine, and I've always sort of thought about it as something that is meaningful to me, because I really believe that what it means is you think about a skunk, we give it wide berth, and ultimately what the Indians say is that what you believe about yourself is your only protection. And in a way, that is what our history is. If it's been taken from us, and we use our mind, and you know, the most important part of our mind isn't the sort of intellectual part, but it's the subconscious part, because that's what limits us. And so if you see it differently, and if you see the problem, then you must speak about it. You must write about it. You must share it with others, because in all honesty, it's something, and the reason that I brought up Jesus is because it probably didn't happen right away, but it happened over years. And you think about, if we lose the fact that we were enslaved in this country, and we just kind of ignore it now, 300 years ago, it won't be something that we understood. And the reason that I said that it's important to know, because not so much that we were enslaved, but because we overcame it. And that, you know, there are going to be people always, because there are always going to be conquerors, that need to know that they can overcome. And what we teach people by what we've done in this country and what we continue to do is that you can be considered at the lowest rung of society and pull yourselves up. They always say pull yourself up by your bootstraps, trying to make it seem like we didn't, but we did. And I'm looking at Judge Turner, because the interesting thing about, you know, look, we're at war with Iran now. And, you know, if you think about the fact that we've always used, the conquerors have always used force, but we did something very new. We used the rule of law and human decency to move things forward, not just for black people, but for women and for everyone else that was on a lower rung. It's the first time, I believe, in history that a major country has used the rule of law. And we are about to lose it. I mean, you see what is going on and how it's been ignored, but it's critically important. And our history and how we contribute to that is important. It's important to make those kind of connections. It's important for people to speak about it, because it is important. Normally on Black history, and I'm always happy to think about people that have accomplished great things, but they did it because they thought they could. If you steal that from people, think about all the good that could be done that isn't done because we've convinced people that they can't do it. I think about, you know, and I'm just going off the deep end here, but I was in the General Assembly, and I saw, when I was on appropriations, when I chaired it, how our inner cities that had the most minority children didn't get the same kind of education as kids who were in suburban schools. I saw how it's very different when you're not in an integrated system to understand who you are. Sometimes you have to understand that you are as good as the next person when everybody else is telling you you're not. But if all you see is yourself and you're given substandard resources to grow and develop, what do you think you carry in your subconscious mind that helps direct you? It's working when your conscious mind isn't. And that's why it's important that what we think about ourselves, what our stories are things that are positive, productive, and we understand it in that way, and that it is in our subconscious mind so that it energizes us to achieve what it is that we want to achieve. And I know I'm going off the deep end. That's not what you asked me, but, you know.
Yeah, I think this is wonderful. So continue.
Well, no, I mean, I see people around here who have done it. Maybe they haven't consciously recognized it. But I see Jimmy Walker over here. He decided that he was going to make a difference in the lives of people that return to our communities and give them something to fight through having positive and productive lives. I see John, Judge Turner, who worked with our young people, and thank God we had him, because he could see into them things that somebody who was a little different than him couldn't see. I see Mr. Hussein there, who with his music has created something for young people that gave them an outlet and something that made them feel good about themselves. All of you around the table, if you think about it, that's what you've done. But people have got to know that, and got to know that it's possible. There's so many of our young people who that's not what they see, and that's not what they know. And what they know and the stories that reverberate in their head are what keep them down.
Compounded question there.
Yeah,
Several levels. The Constitution, it can be rewritten, or they're trying to rewrite it. Also, revisionist history. If we don't talk about it, you allow someone else to talk about it, which you touched upon. And at the end, the infancy of AI. What we feed it is what it gives back and regurgitates. What you want to break down, which it's a lot.
I guess I would say that we do need to, I think AI is probably a good tool, but it can undermine our humanity, and so that there's got to be a way to think about how it's controlled. And yes, there are always ways to change constitutions. They're very difficult. It's much easier to select a Supreme Court that will allow you to think about things in a way that changes the meaning and harms some people and some entities and institutions, and those are things that we have to keep our good eye on.
I think you can do it through community organizations. For example, even this organization could have a youth branch. Maybe you do. I got started in, maybe it's not even really politics, but I was a member of the youth NAACP as a young person. And I think that we still have that. We've got to encourage our young people to participate. And so what I would say is that we have got to make room for them. We were just talking at the table about what it feels like to be old. And a lot of times I don't feel this way, I'll be honest with you. I feel like as an old person, you should still be able to lead and do things. But we've got to make room for the younger people. And we've got to find things as older people that we can do that doesn't stand in the way of them learning what leadership is about and how to move forward, to develop those leadership skills, and to give them some room to actually make a difference in their community. One of the things that I think elected officials should do is set aside some resources for young people so they can decide what it is that they want and actually see it manifested in their communities. And it's doable. You can do that.